Roger, catch us up. Where are things?
Well, that report is accurate in the sense that Bruce Rogow has joined my legal team. He is both a criminal, constitutional, and civil lawyer of enormous accomplishment. He has represented the president in the past. If the decision is made on the basis of evidence and facts and truth, there will be no charges brought against me. But I am forced to fight a war of fake news. To that end, at Mr. Rogow's recommendation, I went out and took a polygraph exam. In fact, I took two, analyzed by two of the most prominent experts in the country. Both of them concluded that I am telling the truth about the fact that I had no advanced knowledge of the source or content or the exact disclosure plan or date for the Wikileaks disclosures that so roiled the presidential race. Reports from the Wall Street Journal and MSNBC to the contrary are completely fake news.
Was there anything specific, Roger, that said, hey, look, I need to expand my legal team? There's a specific issue or anything you learned about from any one of Robert Mueller's investigators that forced you to take this step?
Well, actually, Bruce Rogow agreed to represent me many months ago when I was sued in a defamation lawsuit that pertained to one of my broadcasts on InfoWars. We just announced his joining my legal team and serving as my lead attorney. It was Bruce Rogow who recommended that I take the polygraph. It never hurts to be prepared, but the facts have not changed. Those who say I've been inconsistent in what I've said are wrong. I've maintained all along that my Twitter postings regarding Wikileaks are based on all public information and one very good tip from Randy Credico, who I identified for the House Intelligence Committee, who merely told me that Assange did, as he told CNN in June of 2016, have a motherload of devastating information on Hillary, which he would publish in October, which of course he did. So what I'm guilty of is hyping and posturing and bluffing and punking the Democrats, but doing so entirely on the basis of that tip and public information that could be found on WikiLeaks' Twitter feed or by doing a Google News. Well, according to the New York Times, among the questions that Mr. Mueller wants to ask the president is, what does he know about any communications between myself, Julian Assange, and Wikileaks? I assure you, if he elects to answer that question, the answer will be nothing whatsoever. I never discussed this matter with the president or, at that time, candidate Trump. I never received anything whatsoever, including allegedly hacked emails from the Russians or Wikileaks or Goosefer 2.0 or Julian Assange or Jerry Corsi or anyone else. And therefore, I never passed anything on to the president, nor did I discuss it with him. That is among the questions that they evidently want to ask him.
Well, you are not the only one dealing with the special counsel right now. CNN reports that President Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, sat down with Mueller for at least the third time last Friday. Bannon was reportedly asked about you and your alleged contacts with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. CNN also notes that Bannon never appeared before Mueller's grand jury. So your take on that, Roger?
Yeah, I think Mr. Bannon is being asked about an email that exchange that he and I had after Assange had a press event, which I think was October 1st, probably October 2nd, our time, because it's on the other side of the world, in which he did not release any information, to the shock of many in the media, but he did announce a schedule for weekly releases going forward for the next 6 weeks, I think actually beyond the election. I did tell Steve Bannon that in an email, but that is public information. Politico had a story up reporting that hours before. So there's nothing new here. If Bannon was asked about that, I hope he told the truth. But if he's implying that that is on the basis of inside information, I was merely reporting what had already been publicly reported by Politico and others.
Roger, let's put this stuff aside because I'd love to pick your brain a little bit on the midterms, too, that we have. We got a few minutes left to talk to you, and, we can talk more about the Mueller probe if you'd like, but I would like to get your take on some of these midterms, especially because, you're in Florida. You've been paying close attention to the governor's race there and the Senate race. Are you surprised that Andrew Gillum is apparently up in the polls, and do you believe the polls?
Well, I'm not surprised. First of all, I think you have to recognize that the recent hurricane wiped out, devastated the most conservative part of the state, an area of the state, the Panhandle, that votes almost 70% Republican. That is troublesome. Andrew Gillum is a very talented candidate. He's very charismatic. He's very attractive. He's very well spoken. He also happens to be a socialist. But I do think his candidacy has taken on a specter very much like Obama's, where the historic nature of it and his charismatic personality has obscured a number of his issue positions. Also, the fact that Ron DeSantis won the Republican primary as an incredible media phenomena, essentially on the basis of heightened awareness based on Fox and conservative talk radio. He didn't really ever build an organization in the counties. And therefore, he is struggling to do that. I expect this race to go down to the wire. Overall, when it comes to the midterms, my single greatest concern, in all honesty, is the impact of the censorship on conservative media. You've had Facebook pages with millions of followers decapitated. You have widespread censorship on Reddit, on Twitter. You have, obviously, the deplatforming of InfoWars, the tip of the spear. This is all designed to limit conservative and Republican communications in advance of next Tuesday's election.
Do you foresee the Democrats winning more seats this election, this midterm election, Roger, or do you foresee the Republicans holding on, if you had to guess?
Well, we don't guess in politics. We try to follow scientific polling, but polls are only as good as their methodology, the order of the questions, the wording of the questions, the size and proper drawing of the sample. And I hate to guess. I think this comes down to a very small number of districts and a very small number of votes. And I think anybody who tells you, as Nancy Pelosi evidently did, that they're certain of victory doesn't know what they're talking about. This is still up for grabs. I would point out that historically, the party in the White House loses seats in the midterm election. That has been the historical record. But then Donald Trump has broken all kinds of records and precedents. So it's just hard to know. I do think if the Democrats take the House, regardless of what they say today, they will move articles of impeachment against our president and try to move to some show trial in the U.S. Senate based on the uncorroborated claims of the 19 women who accused Donald Trump of sexual assault during the 2016 campaign with no proof or evidence or corroboration.
Gina was talking about this earlier, Roger, and she was mentioning the fact, and you were saying that some of your Democratic friends are hearing from higher ups not to mention the impeachment word in the run-up to the midterm elections next Tuesday. But you're saying, Roger, that these are still the plans of Democrats. But don't you think the voters, obviously, they're rejecting that issue because we don't hear Democratic candidates talking about it, at least most of them. But don't you think the voters would be very angry if they did, in fact, move forward with impeachment, especially since a lot of these candidates in toss-up districts are not talking about it right now?
Yeah, I think that the Democrats' polling must show that this is not popular with the American people, so therefore they are hiding their agenda, although some congressmen like Jerry Nadler and others have let the cat out of the bag. But the financial base and the radical fringe that is now driving the party will demand this. George Soros, major financier of Democrats, will demand this. No American should have any misunderstanding about this. If the Democrats win the House, there will be a move to impeach our president based on whatever fraudulent grounds they can come up with. I doubt it is Russian collusion because there is no evidence of Russian collusion. Therefore, we've seen, I think, in the Kavanaugh thing, a potential dry run, a potential dress rehearsal for what may happen if the Democrats win the House.
And if the Democrats win the House, does Nancy Pelosi stay Speaker or become Speaker again? And what's your prediction if the Republicans keep the
Well,
House?
actually, Congressman Ted Deutsch from right here in Florida has launched a quiet campaign to challenge Pelosi. He is raising money for certain House Democrat candidates who will commit to this insurgent uprising. So if they win a majority, you may see a contest there, because I think many Democrats realize that Pelosi is not the best face for their party.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more live breaking news coverage, exclusive interviews, and videos from Newsmax TV, click subscribe on our YouTube channel, and don't forget to download the free Newsmax TV app for alerts. Newsmax TV, it's real news for real people.